Welcome back.
Yeah, there we are. Here we go.
Episode number 2. Well, episode number 1, technically. I guess we called the first one the pilot episode.
True. Yeah. First one was the pilot. This one is live bullets. Here we go.
Nice. Yeah, I think if we can just focus on maybe doubling our audience every single week, maybe that'd be a success ratio we can shoot for.
Dude, I can handle that.
From 1 to 2, maybe.
Dude, how you been? What you been up to?
Man, life's been good. It's been a whirlwind of a day. We just got off the phone with a business coach, as we kind of talked about earlier. I was referred to this guy that is based out of the East Coast, has worked for a lot of different big companies, and we chatted with him because I think one of the things I'm working on with my own business is just getting out of my own way. Figuring out what I can outsource and what I can delegate to other people, stuff that they're people that are probably way better at these things than I should be, and just focus on, building the business. It was really interesting though, talking to a business coach.
Yeah, dude, I value coaching at any aspect that you can. I mean, that's just so valuable. So that's awesome. Did you guys come up with a decision or just kind of started the process?
Yeah. So we started the process. The way he works is the first, he says it's a free 20-minute consultation, but we ended up talking for about 45 minutes. I had Jane on the call there too, my wife, and it went really well. And yeah, he basically just kind of outlines, what he thinks he could do for us, and then next steps, and then presents us. He emailed us a package. It has a bunch of pricing options. And yeah, I'm kind of having to eat my own words too, because, being that I coach fitness for almost 10 years, and I firmly believe in coaching. I firmly believe in investing in that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actually, swiping the credit card and putting the money on the line there, I was having flashbacks, all the conversations I've had, in closing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. For sure. I know it's something that's, I've had a coaching background, but the only thing that I can relate it to, that I think that I can provide value for you is that when I was running my own firm, I was encouraged to bring on an office professional, somebody who could assist me with, in the way that it was positioned to me was that could do the $10 an hour work so that I can do the $100 an hour work. And I fought it tooth and nail because I was like, I can't afford them right now where I'm at. I just can't. And a lot of my mentors at the time were, if you do this, if you take this step, it will turn out. This assistant, this office professional, this person that you're assigning all this work that you don't necessarily want to do, that's in your wheelhouse, all that kind of stuff. If you can delegate that, bring that person on, you are going to quadruple 10 or 10 times your production if you bring this person on. And I was very leery. I brought them on, and within a couple of months, I had doubled my production, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. And so it was a no-brainer.
But that's good to hear, man. That's so that was something you had to personally invest in. It was someone was recommended to you, but you had to personally invest in them.
Correct. I had to stroke the check for this person. Now, granted, I had known the person. They had a vested interest in my doing well. At the same time, it's still, you're hiring an employee that you have to be responsible for writing them a check for the hours they worked.
Right.
So it's tough.
I went through the whole process there because I was a member at 24-Hour Fitness before I actually made the jump into coaching. And boy, they got me with that $99 intro session. It was $99. You get 3 sessions with a trainer. And this was back when I really knew nothing about fitness. And I was blown away. And then I went to go re-up on it. And I'm like, I'll do the $99 thing again, the $99 thing again. They're like, well, that's just an intro program. Right now, the current program that you'd want to match up with is $599.
Yeah.
24-Hour Fitness was notorious for getting an obnoxiously low intro price and then hitting them with the shell shock there. It was,
oh yeah.
But dude, it got me, man. I ended up signing up. I did that for about 6 months, and then here we are 9 years later. I was a fitness coach.
Right. So it obviously, paid off. That's awesome. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. What are you sipping
on? Dude, what do I got? I got, just like last week, I got another scotch. I like that, like medium priced in between $20 to $50 scotch. This
The
is
daily drinker.
Yeah, right.
No, the daily. That's your
Of
daily drink
course.
of choice. Yeah, you're
Of
not pulling
course.
out the Macallan yet.
No, that's for special occasions. Yeah, that was a very, very sweet thing that my wife did. She bought me a 15-year Macallan for a milestone. I launched my website, and so she came home with that as a very nice surprise for me. So that was really sweet.
Well, I'm cheersing you through the camera right now. Congratulations,
Yeah,
buddy.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
I think we're both sometimes not the best at celebrating wins, but I think that's monumental, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point because, she came home with it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to put it right on my desk so that I know like when I achieve something great, I'll be able to, sip on it. And she was like, you achieved something great. This is something that should be celebrated. And I was like, oh yeah, well, maybe we pull it out when I make a certain amount of sales or hit benchmarks and stuff. She's like, no, you're always on me about this, so we're gonna celebrate. So it was very sweet. It was also a tough pill to swallow to hear my own words coming back at me. So it was pretty funny.
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, dude. Thanks. What about you? What are you sipping on?
I am sipping on a Coors Light, and I'm showing this to the camera right now because this is going to be something I'm going to be chatting about a little bit later. I'm going old school Coors Light, and I'll tell you why later.
Ooh, okay. Taste of the Rockies. All right. Those cool, crisp Rockies.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cool, man. Well, I'm excited to hear about what your topic is later. And I've got one as well. But first, should we hit on last week's teaser?
Yeah, man. You briefly mentioned you'd picked up a new book.
Yeah, so checked out the new Jim Carrey book. I'm a terrible reader, so I audible everything. I just have to listen to it. So
likewise.
Yeah, I mean it was great. It was fantastic. It was just what I needed. Blew my socks off. It was Memoirs and Misinformation by Jim Carrey. And the coolest part about the audible version of it was Jeff Daniels read it. So,
no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, so co-star in the Dumb and Dumber movies. And so it was really cool. And I think I whipped through it in the whole weekend. I think my wife was a little upset that all I did was lay around and listen to the book. But I mean, it was something else. So that's pretty much what I'm going to say about the book. But what our teaser is we were going to rank the top 5 Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah, that was a fun endeavor to go through. I'm excited to hear what you came up with.
Yeah, so we're gonna do this from 5 to 1, and then I may or may not have got a couple of honorable mentions in there, just because I feel like he's put together a pretty extensive list of work, and so I think they kind of need the nod to those as well.
Yeah, and that was one thing I really found out going through this. I didn't even know half the movies he was in, to be honest with you. Overall, though, I would probably say I'm a bad movie watcher. Like if we see something, it's usually 6 to 9 months after it's been out of theaters.
Sure.
We've gotten slightly better at it, but overall, I'd rank myself as kind of a bad movie watcher. I really enjoy movies. We're just on our priority list when they're brand new. It's not the highest.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because there's so much available now too. With all the streaming sites, and you're not really going to the theater right now, but I mean, there's just so many avenues and so much out there. It's hard to just be like, okay, well, if like you and I are busy people, if you're going to dedicate some time to a show or to a movie or whatever, it better it better be something, or you've got a recommendation for somebody else or that kind of thing. And so it's hard to stay up on these. A lot of my picks are a few years old. So should we just jump right into it?
Dude, yeah. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to do your 5 through 1 first and I'll go, or do you want to go back and forth?
Let's do back and forth.
Okay.
We'll start off with 5 and we'll work towards 1. Okay.
Got it. What do you got?
All right. So number 5 for me, yeah, gosh, dude, this is so hard. But number 5 for me is Liar Liar. Okay. So this was in 97. And I love this movie because I thought it was, because Jim Carrey's super slapstick. He came out with those early ones and made a name for himself and all that kind of stuff. But I thought Liar Liar was such a great story, a good father-son thing, a good thing of growth. But it was like Jim Carrey's show. He was I think he was sharpened his tool for all the slapstick, because it was one of those that he could be slapstick, but I had no problem sitting next to my mom watching it, or that kind of thing. And so number 5 for me is Liar Liar.
That's funny. I think you and I have a little bit different relationship with our mom. We'll get to that later when I drop, because Liar Liar's on my list too. But I'm gonna have to allude a little bit more on where it's at and why it's at on my list.
Okay.
Number 5 for me was actually just the classic, The Mask.
Oh yeah.
I just checked it out here. It came out in 1994. I think I saw it a few years after that, because I remember it was one of those movies you saw. We grew up pretty conservative, so we weren't allowed to watch hardly anything growing up.
Yeah.
If it even had an aroma of something sexual or violent, it was pretty much X-nated at our house. So I think this is one of those movies that stood out for me because we saw it at my buddy's house during a sleepover. One of those ones where the parents ask you, "Are you sure your parents are okay with this one?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, totally, totally,
absolutely."
100%. Yeah. So it definitely had some humor that was, pushing it for the time. Because at 1994, I probably saw it in 1996. So I was 12 years old. So I was just starting to become of the world and have my eyes opened. And so it stood out to me. It was a fun time in my life.
Yeah. And not to mention Cameron Diaz's coming out party as far as the world. I mean, she was a model forever before that, but that was her first like mainstream thing. And I mean, I'm with what you're talking about, anything whiff of sexuality. I mean, that movie with her, it was just like, wow, especially at our age, of that, that young teenager, when she comes busting out there, it's just like, holy cow. So
yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
For sure. All right. Number 4. All right. Are you ready for number 4?
Yeah. What you got?
Okay. So this whole list is tough, but so number 4 for me is Bruce Almighty. All right. So this one came out in 2003. And what's great about this one, I mean, there's a lot of great things about it, but I mean, they put tons of money into this thing, so that the production value was great. But it had Morgan Freeman as God. I mean, how do you not strike gold with that one, and Jennifer Aniston as his wife and all that kind of stuff, and the growth that he has to go through. And again, it's the slapstick, but it's also just a really good story. And I don't know, maybe it just resonated with me at that time of my life, but Bruce Almighty is number 4 for me.
I think that's on my honorable mentions, and I don't know exactly why, because it was kind of hard to get that 5 through 3 for me. It was kind of the tough spot there. There's a bunch of ones that could have slid in that position there, but it's loaded with a lot of people. But yeah, on my particular one, that was on my honorable mentions.
Okay, all right, very good. So what about you for number 4?
So number 4 for me, I put Yes Man.
Oh yeah, okay.
I don't know why. I remember started to get into the Jim Carrey movies later. So a lot of these, again, I saw maybe on an airplane or something, somewhere where it wasn't a formal movie setting. And so Yes Man was just fun. It was loaded with people. Bradley Cooper was in that movie. There's just a lot of people. The guy from that 70s show was in it. It was just kind of a fun, innocent movie, something you could watch with your parents a little bit, but still a little bit of raunchy humor in there every now and then.
Yeah. And Yes Man had Zoe Deschanel when she was kind of first coming out with like New Girl and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the love interest, I believe. And what's also cool about that too is, I now that I've just moved to, I've been to LA. I mean, I've live in LA for now almost a year. And so much of that is filmed at like historical places in LA. And just you and I, when you were here last to visit LA, we took you up to the Griffith Observatory, and that's where they did the running scene in that movie too. So it was cool.
That was pretty cool to put that together. Yeah, so that was on my list, number 4.
Good, man. Okay, I guess we probably should. I talk too much, so we should probably speed through this list a little bit better here. But honorable mention for me. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little segue out of our list, but I'm gonna do an honorable mention. So this is honorable mention number 2. So if we're working towards 1, so number 2 for me was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And this came out in 2004. So this is an honorable mention. I won't talk too much about it, and this is one that's probably on Jim Carrey's number 1 list. Like if he had to rate his own movies, this one's probably number 1 for him. Because I mean, it probably the best acting performance. It just didn't do it for me. I only saw it once, didn't really resonate. I'm sure if I watched it again, I would have a different opinion. But when this list is made, it's just honorable mention for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. I actually never saw that movie. I just had to look it up here on IMDb.
Yeah. Maybe take a look. It's not exactly the most. I mean, it's a completely different style than what his his normal slapstick stuff. But acting performance is it's phenomenal.
So that was honorable mention for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you got for number 3? No honorable mention. I want to say Cable Guy.
Okay.
I haven't seen. I went through the list of Jim Carrey movies, and I hadn't seen nearly even half of them. Unfortunately, that's again falling back on me being a bad movie watcher. But I remember watching Cable Guy. There's some good laughs in there, but it's a little crazy, kind of a little dark.
Yeah. And
yeah.
If I'm not crazy, I think Ben Stiller actually directed that one.
Oh.
But we might have to verify that one. But I'm pretty sure Ben Stiller directed that one. All right, my honorable mention number 1. This one, might upset you, might upset other people, but honorable mention number 1 is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Now, I mean, this is the coming out party. This one is the super slapstick. This is hilarious. And when this came out, 94 is when this came out. So I was 12, just starting middle school. And so like this was everywhere in the hallways. If a teacher talked to you, it was all, you hit back with all righty then. And
so this,
I mean, it was just
to clarify,
everywhere.
This is still your honorable mention, not your actually top 5, right?
Correct. This is honorable mention.
Okay, yeah.
This did not make the top 5. I know that's weird. You and I are probably going to fight about it afterwards, but
it didn't make mine either. I'll be honest.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you'd think, the start, the main one, the one that got him on the map and all that kind of stuff. And it's probably, one of the most quoted movies ever, but anyway.
So what do you got for number 3, man?
Okay, number 3.
I'm actually out of honorable mentions. I just.
Oh yeah, you already mentioned them, but that's right.
Yeah, if I hadn't seen the whole thing, I didn't write it down.
Yeah. Okay. So number 3 for me was Dumb and Dumber, and I feel so guilty putting it at number 3 because it's such a quote-worthy movie, and it's so great. It's so funny. It's so just Jim Carrey. And I mean, I will quote that movie to this day. I probably will to my kids. I think it'll stand up for years and years and years. It's like Caddyshack and Animal House.
Right.
And these
fully
just
agree.
Classic funny movies that will just always be funny. And as the Farley brothers, I mean, they usually, knock it out of the park. So for me, number 3, Dumb and Dumber.
I love it, man. I love it. That's it's on my list. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it's at.
Okay.
Number 3 for me, for Jim Carrey, what I appreciate is, there's times when they're writing the script and they leave it blank and they just put in something that says something like, a minute and a half, Jim does what Jim does, and they just let him go, So it's like, I think they did the same for like Robin Williams and a couple other people. They just let him do his thing, and just let him go to town. They don't know what it's going to go, but they just keep the cameras rolling. And so a couple of the movies kind of run together a little bit. That's why like Pet Detective was on kind of my honorable mention list, because the whole movie is just kind of him doing his thing,
Right.
So I like seeing him get out of his element. Looking back, the movie's kind of a little bit cheesy now, but at the time of my life when I saw this, I think I actually saw this in the theaters, was The Truman Show. 1998. It was just totally unconventional for Jim. At that time, I think I was 12? Yeah, 12, or I don't know when it was. 1998. Yeah. Holy cow. It was kind of that first look into like kind of a fantasy world, and it was a little bit sci-fi in the sense that, you know, this whole thing was fabricated, and it was just an unconventional, showing for him there.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to pile on because it's actually my number 2 is the Truman Show as well. And I think you're exactly right. I mean, that was right when we were in the heyday of all like the reality TV show, the real world and Road Rules. And I mean, I think that was a little bit after that, but it was just a glimpse into that kind of life and what it could be, you know, what could reality shows be? And like now you fast forward to like Keeping Up with the Kardashians and all that kind of stuff. Like, and what's interesting too about the Truman Show too is like he was feeling that way in his life. If you kind of track his movies, he's very much so. He'll pick roles and he'll do that is similar to where he is in his life, and like that's where he was in the Truman Show. He felt like he was kind of, you know, under the microscope and in a bubble like that. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Truman Show for me, number 2.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of gives me an insight into his life a little bit. I know it's obviously just a movie, but comedians, you know, sometimes can experience the highest highs and the lowest lows, you know, much like Robin Williams.
No doubt.
So it just kind of made me aware, I think, of, you know, okay, is when the funny stops, you know, what's really going on, and it really kind of made me look at him as a person rather than just this act, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Number 2 for you.
Number 2, we're going to see here. 2 for me. This is where we differ a little bit. Liar, Liar.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
The reason being is it was a lot of sexual innuendos. I just love it. It seemed like every other scene was something funny. Like I just had flashbacks to the scene where he sleeps with the coworker. He wakes up in the morning. She asks him, "It was awesome. How was it for you?" And he looks over. He's like, "I've had better." And then the whole shitstorm opens up after that.
Oh my God, so good.
Or he's in the courtroom and the judge asks him, "How you doing today?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm rebounding from a bad sexual experience, but I'm good." Or even the girl in the elevator, you know, he's like,
yeah,
"How you doing?" "Everyone's been so nice to me." "Oh, that's because you have big jugs."
So that, you know who that woman is Krista Allen. She made herself famous on the Skinamax channel, and I believe,
I mean, what is that?
Was dating George Clooney around that time.
Oh, no kidding. Okay,
something like that. Yeah.
Oh, you're up to date on your Hollywood.
Oh, dude, I'm kind of a Rolodex of what is that mid to late 90s TMZ crap.
Mm-hmm.
So number one for me is, now this is gonna be weird because it's hard. So when you have like a picture about somebody else's life, either it's like an Academy Awards run, or it's, you know, it's kind of easy because you're just being that person. You're not actually stepping out of your own acting and all that kind of stuff. But number 1 for me is Man on the Moon, 1999,
Andy
story
Kaufman.
of Andy Kaufman. I mean, I loved Andy Kaufman, but Jim Carrey's role and the way that he played Andy Kaufman was phenomenal. And then there's all the other stuff where he actually stepped into that role as a method actor and became that and lived his life very similarly and did a lot of the antics outside of that. And I just thought it was phenomenal. When it's an emotional roller coaster, and it's just phenomenal. So number 1 for me is Man on the Moon.
You know, I really wanted to put that on my list, and Andy Kaufman is someone I'm familiar with and admire, and I couldn't put it on the list though because unfortunately I just haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
That's literally the only reason on the list. I know. Understood. I looked at it today, even when we were doing some research. I knew it was going to be a good movie. I looked at some highlights of it, but I'm like, I couldn't, in all honesty, put it on my list just because I hadn't seen it, and that's just me being a bad moviegoer.
No, dude, I get it. I mean, there's only so much time, but that one's got to get it back on the list.
Well, for me, number 1, I think it's no surprise, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
It's not true Jim Carrey in the sense that there's not a lot of times where he's just doing his thing. He's always kind of playing the role. He's stuck in his character pretty well. Obviously playing off Jeff Daniels, but for me, it's number 1 because of how iconic it is and as you mentioned, how timeless some of the quotes are, and it's something I watched. It's one of those movies I can watch anytime it's on TV. I can watch it. I've probably seen it 50 times, being conservative. It's something I've watched with my parents, with my dad, especially a few times. And it's something he quotes. It's something people that are, a couple years younger than him quote. It's something that kids these days quote, whether they know where it's from or not. But I mean, there's just so many things from that movie that we still say, and sometimes we forget where it came from.
Dude, it's insane. I mean, here I am, a couple years away from 40, and I could just bump into somebody else in a supermarket being similar age and drop a quote, and they would laugh, and then we would be buddies. Like, it has that kind of, I don't know. It just has that kind of connection with people. It's just so funny.
Nonstop, man. It was just nonstop. There's some funny scenes, but then the add-on stuff. When they're in Aspen, he's leaving the bar. And we landed on the moon.
Yeah. So good.
What do you got for Dumb and Dumber quotes?
Oh my gosh. Well, our pets' heads are falling off.
I mean, the big gulps, can't go wrong there.
Skis yours, both of them. I mean, that was Jeff Daniels.
Kick his ass, Seabass.
So good, dude. Oh, I love it.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Oh my gosh! And just the whole, yeah. Oh my god, it's so good. Anyway, we could do hours of that one. Oh my god.
The last one I'll say is the very closing scene. The bus pulls up. The bikini model's on there.
Yep.
We're looking for some oil boys. He's like, boy, you guys lucked out. If you head back that way 5 miles, there's a town back there. I guarantee you'll find. And then they kept adding on the add-on ones. They chased the bus down. He says, "No, it's the town's that way." There's just so many quotes.
And then it finishes with, "Two lucky guys are going to be so."
Yeah. The only thing that really bummed me out is how long they took to actually make a true sequel.
You know what? And I didn't see it.
Number 2 with the other people, I'm not even going to name names, was
of course
horrific.
Not.
And then the third one was, good, but that could have been easily, the 4th series in the episode. They had so much material there. They could have done a second, a third one, and that made that one the 4th one.
Dude, so I watched Dumb and Dumber. I didn't watch the one that we're not talking about for obvious reasons. But then I did not watch the Second Coming with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. I didn't actually watch that one. I have not seen that one. And I think this is why. So Jeff Daniels was filming that show Newsroom, an HBO show, Aaron Sorkin show. It was phenomenal.
I remember hearing about it. I never watched it.
So good. And Jeff Daniels was so good at that role. And he dropped that so that he could, catch a fat payday and do the second one with Jim Carrey.
Oh, okay.
And I think I was butthurt about it and didn't want to give them my money because I was so upset about Newsroom, and I didn't want them to ruin the original Dumb and Dumber too. So I think I just boycotted it for my
I thought you were going to say something like you didn't want him to rebound and kind of break that role again, because it's so hard when actors do a movie like that. Sometimes it's so hard to rebound. Look at Keanu Reeves. What was his first movie?
Bill and Ted. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he rebounded. He's one of the only guys that can pull out of a movie like that.
Man, no kidding, right? Oh, geez.
But no one remembers the other guy.
No, and they're doing another one, right? Isn't that releasing this year or something?
I heard the rumor of that. Yeah.
Oh, brother. All right.
Be excellent to one another. Oh, man. Well, that was a fun list. I think these lists are going to be fun. I think it's a great way to have people get to know us a little bit, get engaged a little bit. And then, we'd also like to hear from people too, what their top 5 Jim Carrey movies are.
Oh yeah. And call us out too. If we're wrong, by all means, you're wrong, but, I'd be down to listen and read a couple of comments, but
for sure.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Good, man. Do we have a list for next week?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. We'd kicked around a few things. I think we should go. We'd spat out the idea of doing albums.
Yeah, dude.
if you're down with that, that's going to be a tough endeavor to get it down to 5 for me. But I think that'd be a fun thing. No genre, no whatever. Just in
no
all time
whittling
albums.
down, no whittling down the criteria.
No top 5 country albums and no top 5 rap albums. I think we should just start off with just albums.
Okay. All right. I can dig that.
I'm going to be up hard at night working on these because this is not an easy one.
Yeah, you're going to be up hard
all night.
What? What?
Time for another beer.
Yeah, I get that. Speaking of beer, what you teased us a little topic here about Coors Light. So please lay it on me.
So for the viewers here, I'm drinking a Coors, not a Coors Light, but a classic Coors. The can is the kind of that off yellow, blue label, the banquet beer.
That's my mistake because you said Coors earlier and I jumped to Coors Light, so that's my fault.
It's been weird. I've been going through this nostalgia phase where I've been really digging things that are not from a particular era, but just kind of just in general nostalgic. And this can, it didn't start with the beer, but it definitely stood out to me when I was perusing the beer aisle. It's very antique looking, very kind of classic, Coors Light looking, and that it's been kind of spilling over into a couple of areas of my life, and I'm not sure why, but I'm getting nostalgic on like vintage cars, just really having a good deep appreciation for just classic Mustangs, kind of that late 60s muscle cars, and even like the paint jobs that were going on back then. The old school NASCAR stuff has been sticking out to me, and I'm not really a NASCAR fan. We grew up, with a NASCAR family. We grew up with cars and motorcycles, but I've been really getting into the vintage NASCAR stuff where it was a little bit dangerous, and it's a lot of beer sponsors on the car, which you don't see anymore. A lot of, you might see Marlboro and just classic stuff. And I've also been trying to, keep aware of where else I've been getting nostalgic on. Like I've been looking at old cameras, for the people that don't know me, I'm a photographer, videographer, and I've been kind of really getting into these old cameras. I've been on eBay lately buying inexpensive old vintage camera lenses that you can adapt to your new cameras, and they give you this interesting look. It's kind of a soft vintage look where the lenses weren't 100% sharp, but they had some characters to them that the new stuff just doesn't have. And
so you're feeling quite nostalgic these days, huh?
Yeah, and the latest venture I went down a deep rabbit hole. I had seen a few spaghetti westerns over the years, but I went deep on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly not too long ago. I watched the whole thing from start to finish. I didn't realize the whole thing was about 3 hours long.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a commitment for sure.
Yeah, and I remember seeing it on TV maybe, but I never sat down and actually watched it from start to finish as an adult. And I got fascinated by how they filmed it. I got fascinated by where they filmed it and why they filmed it certain ways. And I got fascinated by Sergio Leone, the director, and his philosophy, and just the whole birth of the spaghetti western. So the only thing I can speculate is with this nostalgia stuff. I think it's my way of kind of like drawn near to my parents maybe as they get older, because my dad was really into the spaghetti westerns. They both grew up with muscle cars. In fact, that's how my parents met, was through muscle cars.
Oh, there you go.
My mom and dad listened to the music I've been listening to lately. I've been listening to just vintage, like classic rock and roll, a lot of Led Zeppelin, Steppenwolf, just weird stuff that I just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden one day I'm playing it on Pandora.
Yeah, for sure. And like Rolling Stones and, oh man, that's good stuff, dude.
We were playing a game with the wife a couple nights ago, and I played probably a dozen songs or so just to see if she'd even heard them. And she was about 50%.
Okay.
About 500 on whether she heard it. I was pretty impressed, being for someone that was born in 1990.
Right.
She did pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
What was the music of your parents' generation?
My parents were, like my dad he grew up in a conservative Catholic family. My mom was, borderline, like women's lib and kind of borderline hippie, and then them together, so there's just like an eclectic mix where, we would listen to Luciano Pavarotti. We would listen to African reggae from like Alpha Blonde. We would listen to Dire Straits.
Oh
I would
yeah.
have, like the composers. I'd have Vivaldi. At the same time, we would have Whitney Houston and Boyz II Men and Motown, and I mean, like all kinds of stuff. And so, like my music appreciation, I generally love all music. I don't necessarily love, I would call modern country anything like,
Mm-hmm.
like 80s on. I mean, some of the newer stuff is sounding a little bit better, but like I'm more like, I like Johnny Cash,
Yeah.
even at the time, John Denver, or kind of, I call some of the Southern rock is similar to country. I mean, it's
Right.
not, but it's similar.
The new stuff's pretty poppy though. It's pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, new rap and new country kind of sounds the same. Like it has the same beat pattern. It has a similar. I mean, like and I'm not just trying to be an old guy, but it's just that's not necessarily for me. But I could be convinced. But yeah, I mean, I that's the kind of music that was blasted on Saturday mornings when I wanted to sleep in, when my mom was getting us all up to do chores and stuff. Was either it would be Dire Straits or it'd be Pavarotti or it would be So I had all kinds of stuff. So my wife, I will do the same. I'll play her a song, and she is usually in the 90 to 100% of hearing of it, but generally has no idea who it. She would know if it was Elton John or it's AC/DC,
Right.
or if it was,
That's quite the contrast there.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we're working on that for sure.
It's just funny how you grow up. Yeah. My parents, my mom was more on the hippie side with Led Zeppelin and Iron Butterfly. My dad was a little crossing over into that, but he was more on kind of like the beach, California beach vibes, Beach Boys and everything.
Oh yeah.
But
dude, Iron Butterfly, Inagata
yeah, man.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Cool, my mom still has all those vinyls, and that's something that I'm also nostalgic about. I said, I'm not trying to be morbid, but I just said, if my brother doesn't want these, I'd love to have these just for the sole fact that they were something that you purchased brand new.
Dude, song.
She even purchased Cheech and Chong on vinyl.
Dude, my dad had Steve Martin on vinyl.
Yeah,
we listened to it one time. That's so good. So good.
You gotta keep that in the family.
Oh my gosh. Inagata Vita, it was 17-minute song with like a 3-minute drum solo, something like that. Oh my God.
Yeah, you gotta let the drugs kick in. Such a fun area. I don't know why I'm in this nostalgic mode, but that's kind of what I've been at lately. I've got 2 more spaghetti westerns lined up, and it ties into the camera thing too, like how they're filming it, why they're filming it that way, and it's fascinating to me.
Dude, okay. So a couple of things with spaghetti westerns. Not only like there's some nostalgic pieces of that too, because spaghetti westerns really use the music to set the tone.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And people still to this day, like, well, we'll do the hum of the good, the bad, and the ugly of this is going to be a standoff, and or the music when he's sitting there with a hangman's noose and he's underneath the tree and he's on the horse, and like it's slow in nature compared to today's movies where it's just bam, 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 rapid fire of different scenes and all that kind of stuff. Like it makes you appreciate the acting and you're part of that scene, but you do have to have patience.
Yeah, and like I said, I went down a rabbit trail, man. I went out and watched every YouTube video about the director and about the movie, and apparently they wrote the music before the movie was filmed. And
no way.
Yeah, they would play the music on set before the scene to kind of help get the actors in the mood.
That's cool.
And then it dawned on me too. I forgot that Jay-Z sampled one of the tracks in one of his albums, one of the Blueprint albums. But it was the scene where they're in one of the final scenes where they're in the graveyard having that standoff. But it's a track it's one of my favorite Jay-Z songs. I totally forgot they sampled it from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Dude, so the Ecstasy of Gold, one of the spaghetti western songs. It's just that real. It's like a build up song. I think it's only about 1.5 minutes long, but it's just such a build up song. And when it crescendos, Metallica would come out to that in their concerts. They would come out to that. I'd never been to a Metallica concert, but they play that ecstasy of the gold, ecstasy of gold. Ah, man, I'm blowing that one. But they would play
I'm gonna
that
have to
song
look that up.
as they lead it. Yeah, just YouTube Metallica coming out to a concert with that it'll blow your mind. It gets you so pumped up.
Cool, man. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, that is awesome, dude. So I'm gonna take a right turn. I love the nostalgia. That was such a good topic. I have something that's a little bit not as warm-hearted, Nick. Not as warm-hearted. No, my thing was a couple of days ago, I flipped a dude off. Okay. So I am not in the habit of doing this. I don't do it very often. I've probably flipped someone off, meaning it. And actually, you know what? I've done it twice this year, and both times we're in a car. So what's that say about me? But I generally don't think it's a great thing to do. And then the other side of me is it's a finger. I am presenting my finger to someone else. And that's like this big, huge, you should take this and know that I am wanting harm towards you, or not wanting harm, but just being so upset. I'm going to express my emotions in one finger. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So
I love these human moments. Sorry to cut in. I love these human moments where people lose their shit, because we're all human, man. It's just something that happens. Dude. And I love these moments when we realize, okay, this guy's just human too.
Okay, so this is what happened. So this is what happened. Okay, so I'm driving in my car with my wife, and this is in LA, which LA traffic is kind of annoying, but we're in the middle of COVID, so it's a little bit less. But I am following somebody taking a left turn, and we're all good. We make the turn, everything's fine. But I notice, in the car in front of me notices that this little lady who's sitting at a bus stop drops her walker, and her walker falls into the road, right?
Oh.
It's like, this is a significant deal. And the car in front of me pulls over into the far right lane, and the lady jumps out of the car, of the passenger side, to jump out and run over there and like, oh my gosh, let's get this poor lady her walker, because she was bracing herself up against the bus stop. So she's holding herself up against the bus stop, and she's like, oh my gosh, I need to get my walker. And it was quite a thing. And traffic had stopped, but everybody had seen what was going on. So they're, making sure. And I'm pulled behind the car where the lady jumped out to go help her. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm behind them. And I think I'm being a good Samaritan, because I'm like, I'm blocking, I'm like, no. Like, this lady's doing a really good thing and she's jumping out. And I'm like, I'm a lazy good Samaritan. I'm blocking the road, so that we don't need two people to jump out there and get the walk.
The secondary.
Yeah. And then, but the dude who dropped the lady off, he kind of took off so that he could pull in to get out of the way. And I'm like, no, screw that. I'm blocking for this lady. And a guy came up behind me and just laid on his horn. And I'm like, bro, do you not see what's going on here? Like, this little old lady dropped her walker. This good Samaritan got out of her car to go get this thing. And I'm kind of blocking so that she can get back in her car. And this dude lays on his horn for me. And everything in me just enraged to the point where I threw the bird, held it, and then emphasized and wanted him to feel it. And as I'm watching him stew in it, then I'm like, all right, now I can bring this down, and then I can carry on about my day. But here's the problem, right? I don't feel better because for the next 15, 20 minutes, I'm driving around like, yeah, man, that guy deserved it. He got my finger, and like, it's just absolute nonsense. And I could have just ignored him. I could have just like moved on and been like, yeah, man, but we were doing something good. It's all good. But, I don't know what he's dealing with. I don't know what he's going through, all that kind of stuff. And I guess my point is that isn't it just the whole thing is just ridiculous, right? Like I build up all this emotion so that I could tell this guy to F off with my finger. And then I carry it with me for the next 15, 20 minutes. Like, what's the deal with that? Anyway.
It's funny. Yeah. Driving is one of those things where you're in downtown traffic. It stresses me out because you're already kind of at a heightened sense of awareness because you're like, okay, don't hit anyone, don't hit any people, don't watch out for turning cars, watch out for, is this right lane a parking spot, or does it open up into an actual driving lane,
Right.
or is there a crosswalk I can't see, or is there a homeless guy, looking for his needle on the ground there? There's so many things to be aware of that I'm already like at a 6 when I'm driving through downtown LA, and
No doubt.
yeah, you had someone honking their horn, I'd lose my mind too. I'm
not a honker. Like I am hey, it turned green. And then I give a little like bop bop on my horn so that they're like,
the light tap,
because you're probably busy, you're doing something, but just to let you know you need to go,
The honk gets louder for me if I can see that your head's down and you're clearly on the phone, and then it gets a little louder. Like, come on, dummy.
That's true. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I'm not a horn honker. I don't necessarily think that it helps a whole lot, but it will get me from 0 to 60 pretty quick.
It's that intensity though. It's unlike any other when you get that rage going, and then, like you said, it lasts for about 15, 20 minutes. You don't feel better, but it's a reaction that just happens.
Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, so next week we're doing the albums, right? So what are we doing? We're doing top 5 albums.
Just in general, yeah, top 5 albums that anything that's ever touched. You don't have to go outside of your realm of whatever's impacted you in your life. Like if you know that something that was made before your parents were even born, is supposed to be iconic in American history, you don't have to choose it if it's not on your list. Just whatever's impacted your life,
Okay, so is that the criteria? This is an album that has impacted your life, or is it just like your favorite album? What do you think?
I think it's impacted your life and is iconic. There's kind of a hybrid, but I wouldn't choose anything because you think it's, what America would choose. I would choose, whatever is in your world.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Impacted your life. Top 5. I love it. Okay.
Yeah, because we don't need, if you did the Rolling Stones top 5 albums, they would have some really predictable ones on there.
For sure.
And for me personally, that's kind of not what I'm looking for, because you could argue that till the sun comes home, but I want to hear top 5 that really kind of impacted you. And I'm sure some of them are super iconic and impactful in American history, but don't choose it just because everyone says you should choose the Rolling Stones or something like that,
Yes. Okay. All right. Perfect, dude. I'm all teed up. I'm ready because I think next week is going to be, for at least from my standpoint, is going to be all music, because we're going to do the top 5 albums, and then I've got a topic that we can pile on that topic. So I'm excited for next week. This is going to be good.
I love it, man. Well,
Yeah,
I think we did pretty good tonight. Another one in the books.
Yeah, man. Good for us, huh?
Good for us. PowerFall project.
PowerFall project. Love it, dude. All right, brother. Anything else?
Nope. I think I'm going to go prep some dinner for the wife, and we will see you guys next week.
All right, brother. Be easy.
Take care. Love you, man.
All right. Love you too. Bye.